Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Berardi Immigration Law Trump 2.0 Tuesday updates with yours truly, Rosanna Berardi. It's just 12 o'clock, so we will begin started very soon. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining the Trump 2.0 Tuesday Berardi Immigration Law webinar. We will get started in just a minute here. Okay, it's 12:02. Welcome to the Berardi Immigration Law webinar. I am Rosanna Berardi, founder and managing partner here at Berardi Immigration Law. Well, as usual, there is no shortage of U.S. immigration news. If anything, this administration is dedicated to staying top of mind with respect to immigration. Don't forget, they've been elected on this precise issue. So, what's going on in the immigration world right now? Well, I'm going to talk about three separate things today, and all of them weave a common theme of restriction, difficulty, and financial stakes. This is an administration that wants people to be closely vetted. They want to make sure it takes a long time, and they want it to cost them some money too. So, the first thing we're going to dive into today is the $250 visa integrity fee. What is that? Well, if you are outside of the United States and you need a visa to enter the United States for business or pleasure, you have to go to a U.S. embassy or consulate in your home country, preferably, in order to get a visa. It's a stamp in your passport issued by the U.S. Department of State. So, what's this $250? Well, in the one big, beautiful bill that was signed by Congress, they actually did something on July 4th. They said, okay, visa holders, you want to come in, you're going to pay $250. This applies to all non-immigrant visas, whether it's business, pleasure, and it's probably going to go up from $250 because they built in adjustments based on annual inflation. Why are they doing this? Well, they want to make it a little bit harder, a little bit stickier for people to come into the United States. Think about it from a cost perspective. Last year, the Department of State issued roughly 11 million visas. 11 million times $250. I'm no mathematician, but that's a lot of money. So the Trump administration, they're saying that this will likely go into effect on October 1st. Why October 1st? Well, the fiscal year for the US government is October 1st. It's not in effect today. So October 1st, if you are abroad, if your country is not on one of the visa waiver lists, you will have to pay an additional $250. How about our friends to the north, Canadians? Do not worry about this. With a very narrow exception, 99.9% of Canadian citizens are visa exempt. What does that mean? That means as a Canadian, you can enter the United States solely with your passport or your Nexus card. Now, if you're a Canadian citizen who's an investor under the E1 or E2 category, or if you're a Canadian that's a fiance of a US citizen, meaning the K1 visa category, you will have to pay this $250 fee. But for the vast majority of Canadians that cross that US-Canadian border or fly into the United States, this rule does not apply to you. So repeat, Canadians, stop panicking. This one is not for you. It's rest of the world. It's likely going to take effect October 1 and could impact roughly 10 million-ish people. So that's what we have first, the $250 visa integrity fee. What's next? Well, in traditional government fashion, the next one was snuck in a lengthy memo on a Friday, and it's the end of what we call in the industry the visa waiver or Dropbox program. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you remember back in COVID times, 5 years ago now, the goal in COVID was to keep people away from one another, out of government offices. So the Department of State pivoted in 2020 and said for visa applicants, you guys can mail these in. We don't want people in the consulates and embassies worldwide. It's too dangerous because of the spread of COVID. So you can mail your applications in. Well, that was amazing. It impacted lots of people, made their life super easier. They didn't have to go into the consulate or embassy. Well, guess what? It's been 5 years and the government's like, hey, what gives? COVID's over. We want people in person. So listen up. Effective September 2nd. That's in a matter of weeks now. Most non-immigrant visa applicants must attend their visa appointments in person. This includes F1 students, L1s, H1Bs, O1s, first-time visa applicants, and renewal. Whew, think of this. The administration severely cut the staff at the U.S. Department of State at embassies and consulates worldwide. And now they're requiring everyone and their brother who needs a visa to go there. What do you think is going to happen? Well, I will tell you what's going to happen. There's going to be significant wait times to get a visa appointment. There's very limited exceptions to this rule, and they only apply if you're a diplomat. And here's the kicker. Dear God, why did they do this? There used to be an exemption for kids under 14 or people over 79. Guess what? That exemption's gone. Kiss it goodbye. So now we're going to have the consulates filled with little kids and old people. That's a great idea. Anyway, this is happening on September 2nd. If you need a visa before then, please apply today. Again, Canadians, is this one for you? No. Thank your lucky stars. As I said for the last segment, 99.9% of Canadians are visa exempt, but this is for the rest of the world. So if you're an employer that brings in foreign nationals into the United States and you applied for an L1 and your trusty immigration lawyer like myself filed the petition, USCIS approved it, the foreign national has their approval notice, they need to get their visa appointment scheduled immediately because we're expecting lengthy waits. This is going into effect again on September 2nd. If you have plans to come to the United States for your cousin's wedding in the spring, book that appointment now. This is going to be a huge shift of policy and procedure, and it's going to be a logistical nightmare. If you're applying for your family, if you're that employer that has the L1 foreign national coming in and the whole family is relocating, to your facility in North Carolina, the whole family is going to have to go for that visa appointment. You have to pull your kids out of school. Your elderly parents are going to have to accompany you. So this one is sticky. I understand it. There really is no evidence supporting that in-person interviews catch more of the bad guys, but be that as it may, it's a policy that we're stuck with. And it's really important to know that there's not only this extra layer, but an extra layer that is going to take a significant period of time. Again, Canadians, not for you, thankfully. And then finally today, in our very brief webinar from Berardi Immigration Law, we're going to talk about, you probably saw the headlines. Visitors to the US must now pay $15,000 to visit. When I saw the headline, I was like, whoa, what is the government up to now? This is nuts. Well, again, people, please read beyond the headlines. Is it true that a bond will have to be paid if you visit the United States? Yes, but only if you are from one of two countries, Malawi and Zambia. Why did the government pick those two countries? Well, statistically, historically, those two countries have a high rate of US immigration violations. That means they come to the United States as visitors, they never leave. So this is a 12-month pilot program in which the Department of State can say to citizens from Malawi or Zambia, hey, you're coming to the US, we want a $10,000 bond, meaning you give up your money at that time, you enter the United States, upon complying with your period of admission, you come back and it's returned to you. If you have friends or family in this category, there's a lot of details. They must enter and exit only through Boston, JFK, or Chicago O'Hare Airport. Critics are saying, hey, this isn't fair. Zambia's average monthly household income is $150. Again, what's the theme here? We're going to make it harder. We're going to make it more expensive. And we're really going to talk people out of coming to the United States if they're not going to apply. They think for this group of individuals, it will impact about 2,000 travelers. But here's what concerns me, the pilot program. What does that mean? Well, they're testing the waters to see how this works. We may see more coming down the pipes. We may see more countries. Canadians, will this impact you? Highly unlikely. Remember, this is the administration that got elected on the promise to secure our borders, to enforce the immigration law on our books, and to tighten immigration in the United States. These three policy changes, we see a universal fee, we see a procedural rollback, people have to come in person, we see financial bonds, all the same objective, making US immigration more restrictive and really disincentivizing non-compliers. This is a message. This is messaging saying, hey, listen, we're not messing around here in the United States anymore. If you're coming in lawfully, you're going to be vetted. It's going to cost you more money. And if you come from certain countries that typically violate our laws, guess what? You're going to have to put up a bond and promise that you're returning to your home country. So what does this really mean day in and day out, all this stuff? And we see these little dribs and drabs of policy changes. This means that welcome to the United States, Statue of Liberty, don't get me started on that. We're still open for business. We have a significant immigration practice here in Buffalo, New York, and we're getting people in and out of the country 1 million times a week without issue. But the government is making it longer, harder, more expensive, and looking a bit microscopically. So if you're an employer, longer wait times, higher costs, you're going to have to plan this a little bit more strategically. Travelers, make sure you get your place in line, you set up your appointment, make sure you're paying your fees and have proof of that. And remember, these are small little policy changes that are feeding in to the bigger issue of stricter border enforcement. Will we see legal challenges on these? Unlikely. I mean, the $250 visa integrity fee came through the big, beautiful bill through Congress. That is actually one of the few times the government's followed the rules and Congress made that law. That one's probably there to stay. The bond for Malawi and Zambia nationals will probably be here to stay. That's always been on the books. The government just decided to turn it on. And in terms of the in-person visa appointments, that one's likely to stay too, because again, that's the way it used to be prior to COVID. And 5 years later, the government says, okay, we're going to go back to our old school way of doing this. Again, the house is on fire. We're worried about the curtains. Personally, I don't believe any of these targeted groups are really the problem with the US immigration law, but the administration's hands are tied. We can't do sweeping deportations because of two words: due process. So the government is doing something to fulfill their campaign promises. And here we have some new fees and some new policies. So again, these webinars are really intended to keep you up to date, keep you the smartest person at your dinner table. We have a weekly podcast that does a deeper dive into some of these precise issues. Please stay informed on this stuff. You don't want to have friends and family trying to come in for important things for work or for a family wedding or someone's ill and not be able to enter the United States. So thanks for joining us today. If you have any questions, be sure to reach out and scan our fun QR code to follow me in the Immigration Weekly podcast. Until next time, have a great day.